welcome to the Amazon FBA Wholesale webinar here. The agenda, okay, this is just so you to understand what we're going to be covering today. I'll talk about myself a bit for those of you who don't know me. I'll show you some of my students as well. I got into coaching about a year and a half ago now, and it's been really fun. It's been really just like being able to like help people and see them succeed is super cool, and seeing them like quit their 9 to 5s is super cool. Then we'll go into some common questions and answers about FBA wholesale, and then know that this is like, these are a lot of questions that most people ask, and most people it's on their mind. So I want to get that out of the way really quickly. Then I like to actually set a foundation. Let's talk about mindset. Let's talk about time management and the psychology of money. These are things I talk about in my coaching a lot. And this is something that I think is super foundational, no matter what you get into. Amazon, stocks, crypto, NFTs, whatever you may want to do. If you don't have a strong mindset for all of this, and you don't prioritize yourself first, nothing will go right. Nothing will go the way you want it to. So then we'll go into the different models on Amazon. Okay. We'll talk about the different models: arbitrage, private label, dropshipping, and I'll tell you which one is right for you. Okay. And then we'll get into actually FBA wholesale and why I think it's the best, and why I think it's best for you, and how you can get started. Then we'll get into why FBA wholesale is the quickest and easiest way to make a profit. Okay. And then some practicality. We'll go into some numbers, because everyone wants to know how much money you can make and how can you get to 6K a month in profits, so you can potentially quit your job and actually do this for real. And then we'll go into Amazon wholesale and understand why it's still going to be a good model in the coming years, why Amazon is growing, why, we'll talk about saturation. Everyone's always wondering, is it still a good time to get in? So wait up for that, because we'll talk about that. And then, of course, AMZScout. This is how we're all here. My company, my coaching team, AMW Sellers, which is on the top right there, with AMZScout, have partnered up to bring this to you and be able to show you that Amazon wholesale is a great model to get started with, and how AMZScout is a great product tool to use to look for products. With that being said, let's talk a bit about me before we actually get into the meat of things. Who am I? Why are you listening to me? Who the heck am I? I mean, at least for the people who don't know me from TikTok or from Instagram, my name is Nick Milani. I am 28 years old, and I actually have a master's of engineering, believe it or not. And I bring this up because how many of us have been told to go to school and to like get a job and like, take that route and everything will be fine, everything will work out, and so I just want to kind of relate and let you know that like I did a master's, I spent so much money on school, but I knew, I kind of forecasted the idea of like, like this is going to be not fun. And just quickly on a side note, yeah, this is live. Alpha Persada. This is definitely live. But like, this is like something that you can get into no matter where you are in your life. You just have to commit to it, and so I did that. And so at the moment, after I did my master's, I was like, okay, this is something I want to do. So I just like went all in, and I was like, let's do this. And I did it. And I currently own and operate 2 Amazon businesses, a wholesale and a private label. So I will explain that further. But with both of my businesses, I've generated over $1 million in sales on Amazon, on the .com platform, a bit in the Canadian platform as well. Because people love numbers, here are some numbers. You can see at the top here, the date range is from like 16th of August of 2020 to 16th of August of 2021. I generated about 511,000 in the year. Okay. And then at the bottom one, this is another business. In about 2 years, I generated 246,000. So these are 2 businesses that are chugging along, and of course they're not like crazy $1 million accounts, but I think if anything, like I'm hoping that this brings attention to you to show you that, like, look, um, this isn't all a dream. Like, this is practical. This can be done. It's nothing like 0 to 100 real quick, like my boy Drake, but it's doable. And I'm here to show you and tell you how it's doable. These are some numbers that I wanted to share with you, and I'm going to share my Instagram and my social with you guys, so you guys can actually go on my profile and see some of this stuff. But this is a memory in the ecom memory on my Instagram. And I remember about, like 44 weeks ago, I hit like 104K a month in sales in the last 30 days. And I remember, like, in my goals, because you should be setting goals. I told myself by the end of the year I should be doing 200K a month in sales. And so I asked my audience if they thought I would get there. So that was cool. And then here on the right here, because you know what? A lot of people obviously love to see profit rather than just revenue. Man, I get so many questions of this or comments in my TikTok where it's like, show us profits, don't show us all revenue. And that makes total sense. But with the products that I show, I'm showing you what the possibility is. It doesn't necessarily mean that I'm invested in it, because I'm not going to show you every product I'm invested in. So you can see here that, like, in one day, I was absolutely crushing it, and things fluctuate. They obviously go up and down, but making $800 a day isn't so bad. This as well is just some results of my students. It's so cool, again, in the community. It's so fun to, like, see people do well. Like, I watch them grow, and like this guy right here, he started from nothing, and after a few months, he was hitting like these kind of days where he's doing $234 a day. Another student doing 18,000, from the beginning of the year, and, like, for him, that's a lot. And this was, again, profit wise. This is actually this guy. And you can actually see some of his products. But it is what it is. Like, he made that much, which is so cool. Let's get into some common questions here. Okay, enough about me. Let's get into some common questions, because everyone has these questions. We're talking about Amazon FBA wholesale here. So let's clear some things up. Okay, is this drop shipping? No, we are not drop shipping. Drop shipping is against the terms of service of Amazon, and we'll get into that later. We buy the inventory. We don't just forward the supplier to the customer. We buy inventory. Do we use Alibaba or AliExpress? We do not. Alibaba and AliExpress are websites to buy bulk products, or to at least buy products overseas. Sure, there are some suppliers, maybe local, but we don't touch Alibaba or AliExpress. Is this about selling books on Amazon? This is not. We're not selling books on Amazon. We're not doing Kindle publishing. That is a different type of model, but that is not what we do. Do I need to learn advertising, how to build a website, and be a tech wizard? Absolutely not. This model is so cool, and I'll again share later why, but we don't use any advertising. This is one of the only models that we don't do any advertising for. And again, I'll explain that later. We don't need to build a website, and we don't need to be a tech wizard. Okay. Maybe in the future we might build like a landing page for our website, like on Squarespace, or on one of these templated websites, just to have presence, but absolutely not necessary initially. Do you need to live in the US? You do not. You do not need to live in the US. So you see, like, you can live honestly anywhere. Like, there's a list where if you can sell in the US, depending on what country you're in, and it's very extensive. So you can be anywhere in the world, just like me right now, and you can sell on the US marketplace. Or, because Amazon is so big, you can actually sell in your home country if you wanted to. Granted, Amazon is there. Do you have to have prior experience? You do not. You do not need to have prior experience, but you do need proper guidance, or you're going to go through a lot of trial and error, and that's a lot of money and a lot of time. Okay, so keep that in mind, that you don't need prior experience, but the more you experience, the better you'll be and the quicker you'll be. Do you need to be passionate about what you sell? Well, you don't. You know why? Because when you start to find products that do well and just are in demand and you sell them, you will become passionate about it. It's a trigger of making sales and it making you money that you'll be drawn towards it. But absolutely not. You know what I mean? I sell products that are like in the home and kitchen space, and then I sell products in the beauty and health space. And so like this world of wholesale is about figuring out what sells well and figuring out how you can find the product and sell it on Amazon. Unlike private label and stuff, like, yeah, you're going to spend a lot of time uh, looking and researching about the audience, so it's you need to definitely have some sort of passion in private label, but not in wholesale. Do you need time, or do you need a lot of time to put into this, to invest? Well, no, you don't. Initially, you can start off on your own pace. I get all my students to do like, at least maybe 5 to 10 hours a week, to get going. But, if you have the proper guidance, again, like you can have a lot of ways of getting to profitability, getting to good products a lot quicker than having to like listen to every podcast out there, every YouTube video out there. So let's talk about some foundational things here. Okay. Why start a business? Okay. Why do e-commerce? Why do you want financial and location freedom? Why would you do something different in your life right now? And what would you do though if you had something different? If you were financially and location free, what would you do different? How would you live differently? You know what I mean? So I want you guys to write the answer to these questions. Okay, write it down somewhere where you can revisit. Okay, in 1, 3, 6, 12 months from now. Because everything new is exciting, right? But you have to remind yourself why. Why are you sacrificing the time to build something that can change your future when you're like 6 to 12 months down the road and you're like super exhausted, when you're super just like, okay, like I need to call more suppliers. I've made some money, but I need to make this better. I want this business to an even bigger point. Remind yourself. Okay, so I'll show you again. These are the questions. And if you think about it, they're actually just whys of each other. Why would you start a business? You write it down. But then ask yourself, why would you do e-commerce? Why do you want these, why do you want financial and location freedom? And I say that because most people want that. Okay, like I want that, of course, you want that. And then if you had financial location freedom, what would you do differently? Okay, so write these down, write the answers to them as well. The reason I bring this up is because of this quote. People overestimate what they can accomplish in 3 months, but they underestimate what they can accomplish in 3 years. Okay, let that sink in. You might be excited right now. You're like, okay, in 3 months, like I'm going to be selling, I'm going to quit my job. Like, I'm going to have a business online. I'll be traveling like Nick. But 3 months is not a lot of time. So really focus on long-term vision here and understand that 3 years of your life is nothing compared to like your 80-year life expectancy nowadays. Like 3 years of just head down, focus, and just pure, push of knowing what you want and knowing how you're going to get there and just pushing, you'll get stuff done. You'll in 3 years, like you'll be where I'm at, if not more, not bigger, if you retain that focus. Let's move into the second part here, time management. Okay, what does a typical day look like in your life? Do you work or study part-time or full-time? What kind of responsibilities do you have? Who and what do you surround yourself with? Okay. Time management is super important. I can't stress this enough. Okay. You have to push yourself. You have to like organize yourself. Figure out what are the things in your life right now that's slowing you down. Okay. And the way to do this is be real with yourself. Track your phone usage. Honestly, nowadays with the iPhone, like just grab your phone and like look at where you're spending your time. If you notice that you're on Instagram, TikTok, or texting, or if you're on FaceTime a lot, like no matter what it is, like you need to understand that if you're going to start this business and you're going to succeed, you need to change your environment. Okay. You need to figure out where you're spending your time to then repurpose that time. The last thing here for foundations, we all have different relationships with money. Okay. So I'm not going to get too specific with this. And I honestly think it's about our upbringing, right? It's like how our parents treated money. The way we see our parents treat money, that's how we treat money now. If not, like that heavily influenced us on how we treat money. So no matter what your relationship is, though, you need to start to understand that if you want an abundance of money, if you want an abundance of things, then you have to use money as a tool and not so much as something to store. You don't want to stash money under your mattress. You don't want to keep money in a savings account just for the sake of security or feeling secure. You need to use money as a tool. Okay. That tool could be different for different things, but this is really my order of importance. Okay. Your goal should be always learn. Learn as much as you can. Okay. And the idea is that if you learn, you're able to actually like learn of new ways of making money. You're able to learn of how to free up your time. You're able to learn about how you can take things to the next level. And so when you learn, you then essentially free up time, and time becomes your secondary most important asset because you're smart enough now to potentially hire someone to do something for you. You're smart enough to outsource. You're smart enough to maybe use a software you didn't know about to do something for you. And so when you free up your time, you can then have more opportunities to make more money. Okay? And so money is the third level of importance here because it's a cycle. If you use money to learn, you're then able to free up more time. And when you free up more time and you use the knowledge that you learned, you can then make more money. So I hope that makes sense. It's a cycle here to start to understand that learning is number one. And this is why you're here, right? You obviously didn't spend money to be here, but you're spending time, okay? But you're being smart to learn, okay? And if you want to take learning to the next level, you have to potentially spend money and time. And so that goes in a full cycle. So I want you to understand that because the more you learn, the more you free up your time, the more money you can make. Okay. That's it. Again, you learned about me, you learned about foundational stuff, but let's actually get into why you're here. Let's get into the actual meat of the subject. Unless you're vegetarian, then let's not talk about the meat, but let's get into Amazon. Okay. These are the models now that I want to talk to you about first. Okay. I'm going to talk about the different models and then I'm going to tell you why wholesale is good and what I think. And it could be, and I'll tell you why all of the models are decent depending on the situation you're in. Okay. So the first model here we have is retail and online arbitrage. I think in the chat I saw that some of you have tried this, some of you are doing this. And so keep in mind this retail and online arbitrage is essentially you figuring out a store, a retail store, like eBay, Amazon, like Target, like Walmart, in store. Retail arbitrage is you going in store. Online arbitrage is you finding a website. So imagine you going into Target or even Marshalls. Marshalls is a great example because they sell a lot of discounted beauty products. So if you go to Marshalls and you go to their beauty, you know, shelf and you find all these products that are marked down, like let's just say a perfume, like a Victoria's Secret perfume, and you then like look it up on Amazon and you're like, whoa, like this product is selling for maybe twice or three times the price. You can then buy that product from Marshall's and then sell it on Amazon. You can do FBA if you wanted to by just sending the product to Amazon's warehouse and then having Amazon fulfill it, right? Because FBA stands for fulfillment by Amazon. Or you can do FBM, which is fulfillment by merchant, and just having it like in your basement or your house. I always say basement, but having it in your house and just selling it and sending it to the customer once the sale is made. So that's arbitrage. Okay, same with online. You're essentially taking it from one store and you're flipping it on another store, and you're making a price difference. The second model here is the model we're talking about is wholesale. Honestly, I think it should be called retail because you're buying wholesale and then you're retailing the product. So I'm not sure why it has become the name wholesale, because we're not wholesaling, we're purchasing wholesale and then we're retailing. So the way this model works, and again, of course, we'll dive into this deeper, is that we buy the products from a brand owner. Okay, we buy the products from a manufacturer or from a distributor. Okay, and then we are the Amazon seller in the middle, and then we sell it on Amazon to retailers, or sorry, not to retailers, to customers. We are the retailer. We sell to customers. Okay, it's as simple as that. You buy from distributors, you retail it on Amazon, and you sell it to people on Amazon. Going into private label, this is, maybe you guys have heard of this. It's essentially buying products from China, okay? But there's so many components to it. You have to figure out what product sells well. You have to figure out the manufacturer. You have to then maybe improve the product if you want to differentiate. You then have to design the packaging, design the inserts, figure out the import-export of it, then ship it from China to Amazon in the US. And that's really only half the battle. The next battle is really about getting the product in front of customers, getting it on the first page for certain keywords, because you're starting with a listing with 0 reviews and with absolutely no history or traction. So there's a lot to it, like a lot to it. And if you're new to this, there's a lot of points where you can drop off. The last part here is dropshipping. Okay, dropshipping, if you guys are familiar, you probably know this one the most because it's a buzzword at this point. But dropshipping is essentially a customer places an order, then you don't actually have the product, but because the customer placed the order, you now place the order from the supplier and put in the customer's address into the order that you're making. Okay, and then the supplier or even the retailer will then ship the product directly to the customer. Okay, this model is against the terms of service of Amazon, and there's this big red no here, because what people are doing nowadays, if you hear anything about Amazon dropshipping, it's usually like a mix of dropshipping and online arbitrage. They hire people overseas, or they run softwares where they compare prices of the same product just on Walmart and eBay versus like Amazon. And then if there's a price difference, they will list it, but they will wait for the customer to buy it. When the customer buys it on Amazon, they will then place the order on Walmart and have it shipped to the customer, right? But the issue here is that the customer placed an order on Amazon, but they get a box from Walmart, right? So that causes the confusion with the customer, and that's a big red flag for Amazon, because if you're targeting, if you're selling like Amazon products on the platform, but then you're sending Walmart boxes, that's totally against their terms of service. And if they find out, they will hold all of your money, they will cut you off. I've had friends who have held like they've had 40 $100,000 just like been like in their account seized. You know, it would take like months of like back and forth of being like, sorry, we'll never do this again, blah, 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 for them to actually like release it. So if you hear about drop shipping, I would stay away. You can make quick money, but it's very short term. It's not sustainable. Okay. So I drew this little representation for you guys to wrap your head around the difficulty. Okay. I didn't actually draw it, but I put it together. This is essentially the climb that you would do. Okay. Arbitrage is right at the bottom. You can do it. There's no like barrier to entry. You can go to Marshall's tonight. You can go to Marshall's tomorrow. And you can start. You can start scanning and figuring it out. Wholesale is the next level up. If you look at the back of the product, and I know some questions already are asking this, if you look at the back of the product, you can actually see who distributes the product. You know, it's a great place to start. If you look at the back of the product, you can see, okay, like so-and-so from Oregon or so-and-so from California has imported the product or distributed the product. You know, that's a great place to like start researching and looking at. But you can buy a lot of units for the research that you've done. You know, with arbitrage, you can only buy what's on the shelf. There might be 4 or 5 units on the shelf. A lot of people are like, oh, you can speak to the manager and maybe go into the back and maybe, you know, you can set up a relationship with the manager. But why would I want to do that if I can just set up a relationship with the wholesaler, with the distributor? You know, so it's like wholesale is the next level up. And it's great because with all the work that you do, you can at least order 30, 40, 50 units to start. And then if it does well, you can order hundreds, if not thousands, you know? So that's definitely way more like business like, way more better for your time and your money. And then so the tip of the mountain here, we have private label. Okay. I'm not going to write off private label because hey, look, I do private label. I did private label a while back as well. But private label, there's a lot of parts to it. There's a lot of moving parts to it. So the difficulty is definitely at the top. Okay. And this is something that you can graduate into. This is a little representation what I wanted to show because I don't want you to write off any model. Okay. Because everyone is different. So if you have a lot of time but not a lot of money, and not a lot of money being like under $1,000, you know, if you have less than $1,000 that you can experiment with and play with and actually invest in, then go do arbitrage. Granted, you have time. Okay. If you're young, you have a car, you're ready to spend countless hours going through shopping malls and stores, go do arbitrage. Check it out. Try it out. But if you don't have a lot of time or you want to be smarter with your time, and you do have like a decent amount of money, you have $1,000 to $3,000, still not too much, you know, but you know, it's something, then go into wholesale, you know, go straight into wholesale. I wouldn't waste my time with arbitrage. You know, I never did arbitrage. I went straight into wholesale, but you know, it was being smart about it. And then the last thing is if you have a lot of time and money, about 5 to 15K, then go into private label. You know, like if you want to go into it, go into it. But it takes a lot of time and effort. It's an investment. You're building a brand from scratch. You're essentially getting people to buy your product over others. Why would they trust you? Why would they trust your brand? Okay. My recommendation to you is I'm not a fan of arbitrage. I think you probably know by now because it's not a good investment of your time. You're driving here, you're going into this store, you're going out. I'm traveling right now. There's no way I can do that. You know, it's not sustainable. My advice is start with wholesale. Get a taste of selling products online. Get familiar with Amazon and all the logistics, how to use the platform, how to ship products to Amazon, how to call suppliers, how to analyze products, the whole world. But then why not get into private label? You're experienced, you're smart. 12 to 24 months after, build a brand. You know what I mean? Like build a brand, and you can sell a brand nowadays to these aggregators like Thrashio, you know, like for 6 to 8 figures. There's so many people buying brands now. That I don't think not getting into private label is a good idea. Like you should get into private label, later on. Start with wholesale, build wholesale, then get into private label. Sure, why not? But step by step. So let's get into this. How does Amazon FBA wholesale work exactly? Okay, let's get into it. Imagine a mall, okay? Let's compare the mall to Amazon. Let's imagine Amazon is the mall. In the mall, you have different stores, right? You have all these different stores you can go into. Same with Amazon. You have all these different sellers you can buy from. Same thing. Okay. And we're selling to the customers who are at the bottom of the picture here. Okay. However, in the mall, we have different types of stores. We have retailers like CVS, Walmart, and Target. And then we have brand stores like Nike, Lululemon, and Apple, right? So in Nike, Lululemon, and Apple, they're really only going to be selling their own products. Nike's only going to be selling Nike products. Lululemon is only selling Lululemon products. Apple, for the most part, is selling their own products. However, in retail stores like CVS, Walmart, and Target, these stores are retailers. They are selling products that they think that people want. They are essentially a store that people come into to buy all these different sorts of products. And so what I'm trying to say here is that we are a retailer. We are not a brand store, because that's kind of like private label. Brand stores are like private label. You're building a brand. However, a retailer is just being smart about what products people want and making it available. So we on Amazon are retailers. Okay, so we buy popular products that are already in demand. We make them available for purchase on Amazon. We don't create the listings. We jump on existing listings. And we do this by looking at the data that we can analyze. We look at listings that are there, and we look at the data, and we're able to be smart and say, this is a good opportunity. And so we buy from distributors and wholesalers directly from the brand, and we buy and sell in the same country. So we don't have to deal with overseas. We don't have to deal with China. We don't have to deal with really any other country. And I say buy in the same country because you can be in the UK, you could be in the Netherlands, you can be in Mexico, you can be like wherever Amazon is. I would just focus on buying and selling in the same country. Now, the pros and cons of wholesale, because I want to be completely transparent. I want you to understand what this is. The pros: we don't have to convince customers to buy our products. Products are there, they want them. They already know. They might be buying Gillette razors for 30 years. Now they're just buying it on Amazon. There's no advertising needed at all because products are already selling. Someone asked, not even PPC? Yeah, not even PPC, because we're not selling. We're not trying to convince people to buy these products. We're looking at the data and we can see, okay, the monthly revenue is this, the demand is this, the competition is this. If I introduce inventory, then it'll sell. It'll automatically sell. We don't need to advertise. The great part is listings already have reviews. We don't start with 0 reviews. Some listings have hundreds, if not thousands of reviews. So again, that's light for us. We're just jumping on the listing. The lead time, because we're not trying to source from outside the country, is 2 to 3 weeks, usually, from ordering to selling. I send a purchase order, and then they ship it to my warehouse, maybe like a shared warehouse. It's not really my warehouse. Then they send it to Amazon. I'm just connecting the dots here through the phone, through my computer, and it takes about 2 to 3 weeks from me ordering to it being in Amazon and it starting to sell. I stay lean and I only buy enough inventory for a month, right? I don't want to spend too much money. I want to just keep a month's worth of inventory, stay lean, and see how that goes. No import export, as we talked about before, and you can do this anywhere in the world. All you need is strong Wi-Fi, right? And if you need to know where to get strong Wi-Fi around the world, message me on social and I can potentially hook you up and let you know where I go, especially on an island. What do I do? The cons of wholesale is the fact that you need to be constantly looking for new products, right? Your team or you're always looking for good opportunities, you know? Listings might get saturated with sellers, okay? Well, that's normal. It might get saturated, sure. That's the fact that like anyone can really find the product if you can, but this is what differentiates you is that your relationships with your suppliers and the price that you get it at. Products might become unprofitable over time. Yeah, that's why you got to look for new products. Little control over the listing ownership and little control over supply of product. Okay, because we're selling big brand name products, if one day they discontinue the product, we're gonna have to live with that. We have to move on and find better opportunities. But good thing that Amazon has millions of products, hundreds of millions of products, and there are still so many products that are not even on Amazon yet that it's not even a thought that I think about. Now, really, the solution to these cons that I just mentioned is staying lean. You know, I mentioned earlier that I don't hold more than a month's worth of inventory because this allows me to stay just lean in terms of like risk, but also in terms of being able to use my capital to diversify. I don't invest all of my money into one product and then boom, something happens, Amazon shuts down the listing, or people start, or like it gets saturated and like the price goes down, and then what? I'm stuck with all this inventory. No, I'm only stuck with a month's worth of inventory, if not less. And so it's good to diversify. It's good to diversify in multiple products. It's good to just be smart about how to use your capital. Because if you diversify your capital in different products as well, then you're actually opening up all these opportunities. And then if things start to work out, if like 4 out of your 6 products are doing really well, then at least then you're like, whoa, okay, scrap the 2 products. Let me take that money and put it into the products that are doing well. So it's just like this is being smart about the business and building it smart. So I show you this slide because I want you to not overthink. Okay. Honestly, I come back to this slide every once in a while because sometimes things get complicated. You overthink. It's very human for us to overthink things. But man, I always remind myself there's only 2 parts to this business. It's not rocket science. It's simple. It's product research. Be an expert at product research. Understand what makes a product profitable by using tools like AMZScout and having a checklist. And then the other one is finding suppliers. What are the best approaches to find suppliers? What are the best ways of finding suppliers? How can you connect with them? How can you build relationships with them? That's it, just the 2. I want you to remember this is simple retail, okay? It's been around for hundreds of years, if not more. But what's new and what's actually so super advantageous to us in our generation, what a time to be alive, honestly, is that we don't have to guess what people want. We don't have to take surveys. We don't have to like try and sample products and be like, oh, like, do you like this? Do you not like this? We can use data. We can use tools like AMZScout to figure out exactly what people are buying. So we can only use your capital to invest in those products. We look at the data. That's it. Tell a story with the data and be able to make smart, educated, and data-driven decisions. Honestly, it's what a time to be alive, This is why everyone hates Amazon in terms of retailers, because we have it so easy compared to traditional retailers. All right, let's get into the numbers. Let's talk money. What's an expected ROI if you invest? So me myself, I don't, you know, Any products under 10% ROI, which stands for return on investment, is not something I'll deal with because it's not just not worth the power of my capital. It's not the power of my money. I want to make more money with my money. So what that means is that if I buy $1,000 worth of products and it's projected to sell out in a month, then you should expect $1,100 back. That's 10%, right? You used 1,000, you made 10%, you should receive 1,100 back. Okay. In my catalog right now, I have products that are doing 30, 60%, in 1 month's time. If we do a comparison of this to like the stock market, like everyone tells you, oh, like go invest in index funds. For anyone here who's invested in crypto is laughing right now. But, traditionally speaking, like 10% a year in index funds was was good, is technically still decent. You know what I mean? But hey, look, if you're trying to live abundantly and if you're trying to be someone who lives abundantly and is happy without having to worry about money, then that's not really the route. You want to take the fast lane, not the slow lane. So put that into consideration. 10% in a year is usually what's recommended. This is about 30, 60% in a month's time if you are smart and if you focus. So getting into fixed costs though, okay? Because I want you to understand what type of money you'll be spending to maintain the business, okay? It's about $40 a month for Amazon Seller Central. This is your Amazon selling account, okay? AMZScout tools to help you research tools. We have a special bonus for everyone here at the end of this call, so stay tuned. And the last thing really is just like logistical stuff. Incorporating costs you about $250, a one-time fee. Business email, it's about like maybe $10 a month. Internet phone, another 20, $30 a month. And then you can actually start hiring a couple virtual assistants to help you do stuff. And I actually advise that. And that's something that, I talk to with my students about. Virtual assistants are people overseas. These are people like in the Philippines, in India, and Pakistan, and you pay them like $4 to $6 an hour because that's middle class in those countries. So don't worry, you're not like paying pennies, but they're living decent lives. But you're taking advantage of our internet, of our globalization, and you're actually, hiring people overseas, and it's such a great win-win because you're hiring people and they're helping you at a low cost. And so really, you'll end up spending 100, $200 a month. But of course, as the business grows, as you start to do more intricate things, this budget goes up. But again, step by step. Let's talk a little bit about AMZ Scout because we didn't quote the price for it, but I want you to understand that AMZ Scout is a very interesting tool because this is all you really need for wholesale and even online arbitrage and drop shipping. But let's focus on wholesale because they literally have built a tool with like 4 different Chrome extensions that you can use and a website that really is like an all-in-one. Okay, and so we're gonna go into a live demo in a bit, like in like 3 or 4 slides. But let's go over some of the stuff that they give you. Okay, like one of the Chrome extensions, when you're searching through Amazon's page, you can quickly look at some of the things that are important, like how many sellers are on a listing. Is it FBM or is it FBA? You know, like you can look into the ranking, you can look into the weight, you can look into like a lot of details, which we'll cover in a bit. Amazon dropshipping, like the tool also gives you a calculator on the page, so you can do quick maths of like, okay, I know I can get this product from X supplier for $4. Let me plug it in. They've already calculated all the fees that Amazon takes, and it quickly gives you a ROI and margin, so you can be smart and quick with your estimations and your research. This tool here is probably one of the most important tools. This is the revenue calculator, right? If you watch me on TikTok, I'm always showing how much money certain listings are doing. Okay, and this is essentially that. but with more. They actually have this really cool column that shows you a score of how good it is for reselling. I don't know any other tool that does this. So I'm impressed, AMZ Scout. This is a good indication, especially if you like search maybe like something in the just like the Amazon page and you pull up like 100 products. Another way of looking through products, I just published a TikTok about this, is looking at other sellers and figuring out what they're selling. So you can potentially poach some products that people are already selling. And if you go through their catalog, you can open AMZ Scout and you can just like quickly see which products are great for reselling. Okay. So this is like a great condensed list of using that. And this is just a little bit about what the score is made out of, right? I guess it looks at low competition and high sales. Okay, which makes sense. You want something with high sales and lower competition, but you want some competition because you don't want to sell products that are like private label. You want to sell products that are big brands. This is something that we'll talk about as well. You can use their website to be able to actually get into certain product categories and filter things out, right? Like if you're looking for products that are between $20 and $30 because you don't have too much capital to invest, boom, you can use this to be able to find only those products. If you want to find products that only have like 5 to 7 sellers, because that's your hotspot. Some listings have 40, 50 sellers. You want to filter those out, great. You can do that with their website and only go through the products that meet the criteria that either I teach, like with a checklist, or that you've created with yourself through trial and error. This is also a really cool tool. Again, we're going to go over this, I think, in a sec, but this is a way to see all of the sellers on certain listings and actually understand how much inventory they have. This is also a very, very cool tool because you get to actually understand how much inventory a seller has. Because if you're going to be competing with them, you need to know when they're going to sell out. You need to have an idea of how much inventory they have in stock. Because if they have thousands of units, then it's just going to be hard to compete with. And like if they're driving the price, if they have great, great profit margin, and they can bring the price super low by just sacrificing some inventory, you need to understand before you get into this how much inventory people have to make that educated decision. Okay, let's do a live demo. I'm going to share my screen in 2 seconds. So let's go down. Let's see what we got here. Okay, so AMZScout, because I have these 4 extensions on the top right here installed, and this all comes with the Pro package, then you get to see all of these details, right? Like if I'm going through this catalog here, you can quickly see the estimated sales, that's number of units per month. You can see who the seller is. It's currently Amazon, what the fees are, and so much more. This is great to do quick analyzation if you're ever like looking for, just quick data. Your friend could be like, hey, like, what do you think of this market? And you'll be like, oh, like, let me check my tools, and then you'll quickly be able to just tell them like, oh yeah, this is doing this much, and you'll look super cool. But obviously it's more important for us selling products, right? So if I click the product here, we'll be able to see this calculator pop up as well. And so if we have a product price from our supplier, we'd be able to quickly put in the cost here. And then we can also, like normally, like some listings get glitchy and like these should be auto-populating here. But it would be just like it would pump out essentially a net profit once you hit in a cost. Okay, super quick. It's super easy for you to just like do quick math and be able to understand if it's even worth your time. But more important than the calculator, what I really like is just these kind of stats, because we don't want to sell private label products. And so if a product is private label, there are ways of checking it out, understanding what the brand name is, seeing if that person is the seller, right? But, it's good to check here as well. hazmat as well. That could be an issue if you're not hazmat approved, right? And just some details of the actual product. Okay. So I want you to understand though, like right here, we can see who this product ships from and who it's sold by. Okay. Let's do an example like this right here. This is something I pulled up um, a little while ago, something I share with my students as well. This is like a very interesting wholesale example. Okay. Very common. It's a 3M, like, sensitive skin tape product. And we know it's wholesale because, look, it's sold by some random company called Premium Supplies. But if we scroll down, we can actually see that there are 8 other people on this listing. You can see other sellers on Amazon. This is the tool that tells you, the revenue. Okay, right now you can see estimated revenue of this next care sensitive skin is 61,000 a month in sales, and there are 8 sellers on it. So that's a decent coin for everyone. It's over 6-7K a month. The product score for reselling is 10. Okay, so super, that's great. Low competition, high sales, right? So these are all the tools that you need, right? You need to check the revenue. You need to be able to check the profit margin. You need to be able to check the stock level, look at the other sellers, understand what their positioning is, and just be able to be smart with the data. Okay, even this right here, this is like a ranking, price history. I don't want to overwhelm you right now, but this is just another way of like understanding, oh, is the product gaining sales? This blue line, right? The lower it actually goes, the better, because the lower the rank, the better. If something is number one in health and beauty, it's number one. It's doing millions a month in sale. If it's higher, then it's just, crappier. So these are things that are super useful, and just you need to be able to make educated decisions on where to spend your money. Okay. Let's get into this little last part then. Everyone's wondering, when can I quit my job? When can I make 6K a month in profits? Well, look, I always get my students to start with 500 to $1,000 just to get a taste of the whole process. Okay. I don't want you to spend too much money without knowing where it's going, without knowing how it's done. Okay, always about 500 to $1,000 just to get a taste, and then if the product does well, move forward, buy more, diversify in other products, and so on. Now, once you get familiar and comfortable, that's what I mean. Spend money on different products. Okay, the more money you invest, though, like anything, the more money you can make. The goal is to find higher ROI products to get to 6K a month. Okay, but step by step, you need to learn, you need to test, and then you need to scale. So if we do some quick math, 35% ROI on average, depending on our products, we would need to invest about $17,000 on products to be making 6,000 a month in profit. Okay, so step by step, when I first started my business, like I probably started with 6 or 7,000, and I was just making more and more money as I was building my business. And what's crazy is that I actually made a decent amount of money to then take that money, at least portions of it, and build my private label business with it. Right. So everything was just like building on top, taking money from here and putting it into the next business. And that's the best way to do it. So like any business, I advise you to start with what's manageable to you and to continue to reinvest your profits into the business, right? You can buy more inventory, you can diversify, grow your business before you start to milk it. Grow your business before you start to actually take money for fun stuff, for rents, for living. Because the point here is to build a business that can help you live your life, that can help you quit your job, right? So don't prematurely take out money in the beginning. And so Outside of the numbers, a lot of people talk about the future of maybe this model. More importantly, just Amazon in general. Okay, and this is important for you, right? Because you're just getting started, right? When I started in 2018, same thing, right? I had the same questions because Amazon has been around since 1996. Sure, they popped off around 2010, 11. That's around when people start to really use it. So in 2018, I was asking the same questions. I was like, what's going on? Is this worth it? You know, but you have to understand that as more people buy stuff on Amazon, as more products from the real world are coming online, people are wanting to spend their money on more um, like attainable goods. They want to spend their money where things are easier to get. All of their favorite products are coming onto Amazon. So as Amazon wholesalers, it's our job to meet that demand. It's as simple as that, right? We look at the data, we then set up relationships with suppliers, and we're able to just meet the demand. And as you become more familiar with the platform, you're actually becoming an expert at the platform. You can start to approach brands directly to become their exclusive vendor. Now, this is something that's a little more elite. It's something that I'm actually into right now. We have two brands that we're working with, and hopefully more and more. But as you become an expert, you can then, instead of just buying products from suppliers and not really having too much say in the supply of the product, you can set up relationships with brands and say, hey, we've been in the business for a year, for 2 years, 3 years, and we want to just become your exclusive vendor, but we'll still buy your products and sell it, but you need to only sell it to us. So it's a win-win. You're the expert. They want to sell it to someone who knows how to deal with Amazon, and then you get exclusivity. That's great for competition. This will take some time, but with time and focus, you can get there. And then once you get there, like it just adds to the pie, it adds to your business, and it's really just like next level. So outside of like wholesale, like Amazon is launching in a new country almost every few months. Like I get notifications being like, hey, launch in Singapore, hey, launch in Poland. Like, it's just crazy. Like even Egypt now, and you have to understand that Amazon is trying to take over the e-commerce world, right? Not to mention the metaverse. Can you now go through a presentation without talking about the metaverse? It's, soon people are going to be in their headsets in this metaverse and they're going to be like, Alexa, order me those shoes, order me this, order me that. Like it's the future. You know what I mean? Amazon is not going anywhere. If anything, it's going to be even bigger in the next 10, 20 years, right? And so I want you to understand that wherever you are, because I know everyone is in so many different places right now, you can literally sell in your country and start to dominate. Sure, Amazon.com is the biggest, but you like you can be in Mexico, you can be in Australia, you can be in Europe, and you can start to dominate that platform because there's low competition. Okay. You can get into Amazon.com because there's a lot of buyers, but I would advise just sticking to your country and just establishing dominance. Start to build relationships. So that's the future of Amazon. A lot of people ask, is Amazon saturated? Is Amazon still worth it? Right? Well, my answer to you is yes. Yes to both, actually. Of course, yes, it is saturated, but it's saturated with crappy and amateur sellers. Okay. Most people don't do what I do. Most people don't look at the data. Most people don't look at how to be smart with their money. If you have the right mindset, if you have the tools, if you have the proper guidance, then you can build a real business and help quit your job and generate passive income and be able to get you to travel the world and do things on your computer more readily, more available, more just free.